Okay, welcome back children. So coming to today's class, we are going to begin a new chapter which is called electromagnetic induction. See, before we start this electromagnetic induction, if you observe the previous chapter, okay, we have seen that when you keep a magnetic needle close to a current carrying conductor, say this is a current carrying conductor, and if you keep a magnetic needle, compass needle close to it, then this needle has showed some deflection. So this has proved that using electric current, we can produce magnetic field, and we have even determined what is the strength of the magnetic field by making use of Ampere's law and Biot-Savart's law. Now we are going to study the reverse phenomenon in electromagnetic induction, that is how to produce electric current by making use of magnetic field. So this was experimentally studied by two famous scientists. One is Faraday from England and Henry from USA. So these two scientists have done a number of experiments to verify whether the reverse phenomenon is practically possible. That means using a magnetic field, if it is possible to produce electric current. And those experiments led to the fact that it is possible to produce electric current by making use of magnetic field. But how this was actually proved, we will understand by observing the Faraday's and Henry's experiments. So let us start with Faraday and Henry's experiments first. Okay, now coming to Faraday and Henry's experiments. Okay, look at the first experiment. So in the first experiment, they took a bar magnet. Okay, assume that this is the north pole and south pole of a bar magnet. So it is kept along the axis of a circular coil. So assume that this is your circular coil with n number of turns, and this coil was connected to a galvanometer. Okay, this is a galvanometer connected to it. See, you can observe there is no power supply connected to this circular coil, and this is the axis of the circular coil. And the first experiment, what they did is, they have moved a bar magnet close to the coil along the axis. So when the magnet was moved close to the coil, the galvanometer suddenly showed a deflection. And when the magnet is moved away from the coil, again they observed a deflection. But when the magnet is stationary without any motion, no deflection was observed. I again repeat, when you move the magnet close to the coil, galvanometer showed a one-sided deflection. When the magnet is moved away from the axis of the coil, then it showed an opposite deflection. If magnet is stationary, no deflection was observed. Then they repeated the experiment by keeping the magnet stationary and moving the coil. See, when the coil is moved close to the magnet, there was a deflection in the galvanometer. When the coil was moved away from the coil, when the coil was moved away from the magnet, then also there was a deflection. But when both of them are stationary, no deflection was observed. So what is the first experimental observation they have observed? A relative motion between magnet and the coil induced a current in this closed loop. So this was the first experiment. Now come to the second experiment. So in the second experiment, instead of taking a magnet, they took two coils. Okay, assume that this is one coil. Okay, so this coil is connected to a galvanometer. Okay, the coil which do not have any power supply, we generally call it as secondary. This is called a secondary coil. Then along the same axis, okay, we are going to keep one more coil, but this coil is connected to a battery and a switch. Okay, the coil which is connected to the power supply, we generally call it as a primary coil. Okay, which has a power supply is called primary, and the one which does not have a power supply, we call it as secondary. So in this experimental observation, what they actually observed is when you move this coil, okay, first close the switch so that there is current in the primary coil. When the primary coil is moved close to secondary, there was a deflection in the secondary coil. So you can see there is no power supply in secondary coil, but still the galvanometer showed a deflection, which proves that a change in magnetic flux, that means whenever you are moving the coil closer, field lines are entering into it, magnetic field lines, they are producing a deflection. And when this coil was moved away, deflection was there but in opposite direction. Keep the primary stationary, move the secondary. A similar phenomenon is observed. So based on these two experiments, or there was one more experimental observation. The third experiment is, without any relative motion between the coils, when the switch was closed, okay, when this primary coil switch is closed, there was a sudden deflection, a momentary deflection in galvanometer. And when the switch is opened, there was again a deflection in opposite direction. So in the third experiment, what do we observe? While making the circuit and breaking the circuit, there is a deflection observed in secondary coil. So from these three experimental observations, they could conclude that by using a magnetic field, we can produce electric current. So therefore, based on these two experimental observations, Faraday has stated two laws of electromagnetic induction. Look at the statements of two laws. The first law of Faraday states that a change in magnetic flux induces EMF. Okay, be very careful. He did not say it induces current. He said it is going to induce EMF. Okay, it can induce current only if the coils are closed coils. That means if the circuit is complete, closed circuit, then EMF will turn into current. Otherwise, a change in magnetic flux is inducing EMF. Let us verify whether it is doing it or not. See, when you move the magnet close to this, we know these are the magnetic field lines. Tell me what will happen to the field lines, number of field lines as you are moving the magnet closer. Flux is increasing. Hope you remember what is magnetic flux. Tell me what is magnetic flux defined as. In the previous chapter we have studied B dot A. B into A into cos theta. And if you have n number of turns, then I will also write it as B into A into n into cos theta. See, when I am moving the magnet close to this coil, what is happening to magnetic flux? Flux is increasing. So there was a deflection. When you move the magnet away, flux is decreasing. Again there is a deflection. So whenever there is increase and decrease of flux, there was a deflection in the galvanometer. Similarly, when you close the circuit, there will be current in the primary coil. Curl the fingers of your right hand in the direction of current. Will there be a magnetic flux? Okay, there is a magnetic field coming out of the primary coil. When you move the coil closer, flux is increasing. There is a deflection. When you move this coil away, field lines are decreasing. Again there is a deflection. So from these two experiments, the first conclusion what Faraday gave is, it is in the form of Faraday's first law. It states that change in magnetic flux induces EMF. Come to the second statement, second law. The second law of Faraday states that EMF induced, if I represent EMF as small e, is equal to the rate of change of magnetic flux. I repeat the second statement. It is the same statement, but you can add a word rate of. The rate of change of magnetic flux is equal to induced EMF. This is called Faraday's second law, and this statement we call it as Faraday's first law. Again I am repeating, be careful. In the definition they said that change in magnetic flux will induce EMF. EMF will in turn become a current if the coil is closed circular loop or it's a closed circuit. Otherwise it will only induce EMF. And the second law states that rate of change of magnetic flux is equal to induced EMF. But there is a small change in the second law. We have to include a negative sign here. So this negative sign was explained by another scientist who is called as Lenz. That is, in accordance to Lenz law, a negative sign has to be included in the statement. So induced EMF is equal to minus of d phi divided by dt. So let's come back to the Lenz law later. First try to understand the first two Faraday's laws. What is the Faraday's first law? Change in magnetic flux will induce EMF. Second law states that rate of change of magnetic flux is equal to induced EMF. And why is a negative sign added here? It is in accordance with which law? Lenz law. Okay, let us see what is this Lenz law. Now coming to Lenz law. Okay, so this Lenz law is actually going to tell you about the direction of induced EMF. Look at the statement of Lenz law first, then I will give you the explanation. Lenz law states that the direction of induced EMF, okay, the direction of induced EMF is always such that it opposes the cause that produced it. Okay, again I am repeating the statement. The direction of induced EMF is always such that it opposes the cause that produced it. Okay, to understand this Lenz law, let us take one single circular loop of wire and you are going to bring a bar magnet, north pole of the magnet, close to it. Then according to the Lenz law, the current produced in this circular loop or the EMF induced in this circular loop is such that it opposes the motion of the magnet. So if it has to oppose the motion of the magnet, so when you are trying to move the magnet closer, this circular coil will induce a north pole here, south pole behind it. That means facing the coil, the north pole will be induced. We know north and north will always repel. And because there is a force of repulsion, while moving the magnet, you have to spend your energy. So whatever energy is lost by you is converted into electric current and that in turn is dissipated in the form of Joule's heating. Again I am repeating, what does the statement of Lenz law state you? The direction of induced EMF is always such that it opposes the cause that produced it. That means when you move a north pole close to a circular loop of wire, the face of the coil facing the magnet will induce a north pole. See, you can get the direction of current in this just by using this shortcut method. If this is a north pole, give arrows to N. The direction of current in the circular loop is like this. Okay, it is anti-clockwise when you view from the side of magnet. Remember, whenever you are giving the direction of induced current, from which side you are measuring the current, that has to be specified. Because when you view from this side, okay, from the side of magnet, current is in anti-clockwise direction. If you view from the opposite side, it will look like clockwise. So that you have to be careful. Similarly, if I move this north pole away, okay, I am taking the same circular loop of wire. This is the axis. Now this time, if this is your north and south pole, if you are moving this magnet away from it, the direction of current in this loop will be such that it will attract the magnet. That means it will neither, the direction of induced EMF is such that it will neither allow you to move it closer nor allow you to go it away. So when you move it away, which pole will be induced on this side? South pole. So as per us, give the arrows. This is the direction of current in the circular loop. So when you view from this side, okay, from the side of magnet, if this is your coil and you are moving the magnet away, what is the direction of current in the loop? When you view from this side, it is in clockwise direction. So this will be a south pole. So the same thing happens even when two circular coils are placed one beside the other. Now let us see what exactly is this Lenz law telling you. So Lenz law is indirectly telling you about the law of conservation of energy. Okay, let us see how Lenz law explains the law of conservation of energy. Okay, we are trying to prove this by taking a contradiction. Let's go by contradiction. Say this is a circular loop of wire. This is the axis. And we are moving a north pole of the magnet close to it along its axis. According to Lenz's law, it has to repel the motion of the magnet and north pole has to be induced. Let us take the contradiction. If a south pole is induced, okay, the direction of current is such that this phase of the coil gets a south pole. Okay, the phase facing the magnet is getting a south pole. If this is your south pole, what should happen to the magnet because of the south pole? The magnet should get attracted by the south pole, it should gain its kinetic energy and it should slip from your hand. If this actually happens, is the magnet gaining kinetic energy? The magnetic is gaining some kinetic energy. But you are not going to lose any of your energy. If the magnet automatically slips from your hand, there is no other system which is losing energy. Indirectly, are we creating energy? Energy is being gained by the magnet with no other system losing the energy. Now you tell me, is it practically possible to create energy? No. So is it violating the law of conservation of energy or not? So what pole has to be induced when you are moving a north pole close to the coil? It cannot be a south pole. It should induce a north pole. That is, it should oppose the motion of the magnet. So when you try to move the magnet closer, the coil has to repel it. When you are trying to move the magnet away, it should try to attract it. So in either of the cases, you are going to lose your energy and that is converted into electric current and again dissipated in the form of Joule's heating, that is I square RT. So this is how we can explain that the Lenz's law will give you the direction of induced current. At the same time, it also explains the law of conservation of energy. Remember this is a very often asked question. How do you prove that Lenz's law explains the law of conservation of energy? Again, I am repeating, we try to prove it by contradiction. Assume a south pole is induced instead of north. As the magnet gains kinetic energy, no other system is losing kinetic energy. Gain of kinetic energy implies energy is created, which is not practically possible. So this is how Lenz's law is quite important in this particular chapter. Okay, let us first start with some simple applications based on Lenz's law. I repeat the statement of Lenz's law. What does the statement tell you? The direction of induced EMF is such that it opposes the cause that produced it. So based on this, let us see how do we identify the direction of induced current in various types of arrangement. Okay, we'll start with the simplest question first. So in the first case, they are showing you that the north pole of a magnet is moved close to a coil. We know just now I told you when you move a north pole close to the coil, this phase of the coil which is facing the magnet will get an induced north pole because it has to repel the motion. A north pole will induce a north pole this side. Behind it you may have a south pole. So give arrows to N. This is how the current is flowing. But when you are mentioning it in the statement, be very careful. As I told you, you have to tell from which direction you are giving the answer. See, when you are giving the answer from the side of magnet, okay, from the direction of magnet, what is the direction of current in the coil? Is it clockwise or anti-clockwise? Anti-clockwise when viewed from the side of magnet. Okay, but if you are viewing it from the opposite side, then it will become clockwise. So that you have to be very careful. So all the directions I am going to give you in the direction of magnet itself, okay, from the magnet's side. Now tell me the answer for the second case. If you move the south pole away, this coil will produce an induced EMF or induced current such that it won't allow the magnet to go away. So since the magnet is going away, it will try to attract the magnet. So what pole will be induced here again? North pole. So if this is N, give arrows according to N. This is how the current is. Again, did we get the same direction? anti-clockwise when viewed from magnet side. Okay, when you are viewing the face of the coil facing the magnet, then the direction of current is anti-clockwise. So when you are given magnets, it becomes very easy to identify the direction of induced current. Now let's go to this example. Okay, where magnets are not used, then how will you identify the direction of induced current? So if we look at the question, they have given you two coils. One is connected to a battery, another is connected to a galvanometer. So they are asking you identify the direction of current in the secondary coil. I told you just now, this is called primary coil. And this is called the secondary coil. So you are asked to identify the direction of current in secondary coil when the switch is closed and then when the switch is open. First it is closed and then it is open. Now let's start with the first case. See, when you close this switch, will there be a current flowing in the coil? Suddenly current is increasing from 0 to maximum. Curl your fingers. This is how the direction of current is flowing. Curl the fingers of your right hand. We know thumb gives the direction of magnetic field. So this is how the magnetic field is. See, when you close the switch, suddenly did the field increase from 0 to maximum? Because current is increasing from 0 to maximum. Previously no flux was there inside this secondary coil. Now flux suddenly appeared in the secondary. What will the secondary coil do according to the Lenz's law? It should oppose this. To oppose this flux, it will produce a flux in the opposite direction. Again I am repeating, according to Lenz's law, it should not allow the increase of magnetic flux. To oppose it, this will develop a flux in opposite direction. So if this is the direction of flux, put your thumb in the direction of magnetic field. Curl the fingers. This is how the current is going to produce. So look at the primary current. If the current in the primary coil is clockwise, okay, when you view from this side, it is clockwise. What should be the current in the secondary coil? Opposite to primary. So when you close the switch, as current is increasing, current in the secondary coil will have a direction opposite to that of primary coil. This is the first case when you have closed the key. Now you tell me what will happen when you open the switch. See, after passing the current, now flux is already existing. When you try to open this, flux will start decreasing. Since flux is decreasing, the direction of induced EMF tries to increase the flux. So to increase the flux, it will have the direction of current same as the direction of current in primary coil. Again I am repeating, when your switch is closed, current in secondary coil will have a direction opposite to that of primary. When you have opened the switch, the current in secondary coil will have its direction same as that of primary coil. But instead of going through all this increasing and decreasing procedure, now I'll tell you one shortcut method to identify the direction of induced current. Okay, look at the method. First try to understand this rule. The step 1 is put your thumb in the direction of magnetic field or flux. I repeat, put the thumb of your right hand in the direction of magnetic flux. Step 2. Check whether this flux is increasing or decreasing. Okay, if it is increasing, invert your thumb. Curl of the fingers will give you the direction of induced current. Again I am repeating, put your thumb of your right hand in the direction of magnetic flux. Step 2. Check whether it is increasing or decreasing. If it is increasing, invert your thumb. Curl of fingers will give you the direction of induced current. Similarly, if the flux is decreasing, do not invert. Curl of fingers will give you the direction of induced current. Okay, again I'm repeating this statement. Remember this rule. It is in accordance with Lenz's law, but it helps you in identifying the induced current quickly. Put the thumb of your right hand in the direction of magnetic field or flux. Let us take this example itself and explain. See, in the first case, when you are closing the switch, this is how current is flowing. Curl the fingers. Is the thumb showing you magnetic flux? Now, second step. Check whether it is increasing or decreasing. So you tell me, first I have kept my thumb in the direction of magnetic flux. When you close the switch, this flux is increasing. If flux is increasing, what did I tell you? Invert. So if this is the thumb, invert your thumb. Curl the fingers. That gives you the direction of induced current. Again I repeat, put your thumb in the direction of magnetic flux. If the flux is increasing, invert it. Curl the fingers in the secondary coil. The curl of fingers will give you the direction of induced current. Similarly, if it is decreasing, see in the second case we are opening the key. This was the direction of flux, initial flux. When you open the key, we know flux is going to decrease. If it is decreasing, do not invert your thumb. Keep your thumb as it is in the secondary coil. Curl the fingers. That gives you the direction of induced current. So this rule is going to give you the answers. It is in accordance with Lenz's law, but easy to apply. Increasing, invert. Decreasing, do not invert. So this rule we will apply for the remaining questions and see how to identify the direction of induced current. Okay, now look at how to apply my previous rule for these two questions. Okay, they have given you one square loop which is moving with a speed v. It is going to come out of the field. They are asking you to identify the direction of induced current. In the second case, this is a triangular loop of wire which is entering the magnetic field. One is coming out of the field, another is entering into the field. See, you can understand when it is coming out of the field, the number of field lines passing through it will decrease. See, as it is coming out, flux is going to decrease. Since this triangle is entering the magnetic field, flux is going to increase. So start applying the rule. Put your thumb in the direction of magnetic field or flux. See, the crosses indicate the magnetic field. Put your thumb inside. Since this square loop is coming out, we know the field is decreasing. Decreasing, do not invert. Curl the fingers of your right hand. This is how you can get the direction of induced current. Come to triangle case. We know as it enters the field, flux is increasing. Put your thumb in the direction of magnetic flux and the flux is increasing. Invert your thumb. Curl the fingers. Is it anti-clockwise? Here it is clockwise. Or one more example I will give you. Take a circular loop of wire. If it is coming out of the magnetic field with a speed v, what is the direction of induced current? Put your thumb in the direction of magnetic flux. Check whether it is increasing or decreasing. We know when it comes out, flux will decrease. Do not invert. Curl the fingers. This is the direction of induced current. So by using this simple increasing, invert, decreasing, do not invert, you can find out the direction of induced current. Okay, look at a few more examples to identify the direction of induced current using that Lenz's law. See, look at the first example. I'll call this as A, B and C bits. So in the first bit, there is a circular loop of wire on the plane of the board, and below this we have a current carrying conductor, a long current carrying conductor, and the current in this wire is increasing with time. Then you have to identify the direction of induced current in this circular loop. So for that, first we have to identify the direction of magnetic flux. Put your thumb. We know when there is a current carrying conductor, there is a magnetic field around it. What is the direction of the magnetic field because of this current carrying conductor? Right hand thumb rule. Coming out of the plane of the paper, this is out. Below the wire it is in. See, look at the dot. Is a field line coming out from the circular loop, entering in below the wire. Anyway, we want the flux only in this circular loop. Put your thumb in the direction of magnetic flux. It is dot circle that it is coming out. Since current is increasing, the flux is also increasing. What did I tell you? Increasing, invert your thumb, curl the fingers. This is the direction of induced current. Again I repeat, because of this current carrying conductor, the dot and cross represent the magnetic field. This field is outward, inside the circular loop, and is increasing with time. If flux is increasing, invert your thumb, curl the fingers. Come to the next case. Here also we have a long straight current carrying conductor, but current is decreasing. Put your thumb according to the arrow. Field lines are coming out from here, entering in below. Put your thumb in the direction of magnetic flux. Current is decreasing, so flux also will decrease. Do not invert your thumb. Curl the fingers. What is the direction? It is anti-clockwise. Come to this case. A steady current is passing through it. Again, if I put the magnetic field line, neither the flux is increasing nor the flux is decreasing. If there is no change of flux, what will be the induced current equal to? 0. No current will be induced. So remember, if there is no change of magnetic flux, there won't be any induced current or induced EMF. See, sometimes they may give you a question like this. This is a circular loop of wire. So along the axis, we have kept a magnet. What will be the induced current if you rotate the magnet along its axis? See, if I keep the magnet here and start rotating it, there is no change in flux passing through this coil. Neither the flux is increasing nor the flux is decreasing. Since there is no change of magnetic flux, what will be the induced current in this equal to? It will become 0. Or look at one more question. See, they have given you a circular loop of wire with two plates, A and B. These are the two plates of a capacitor. The dot indicates its outside, inside. Continuous line is outside the plane of the bone. Okay, you have two parallel plates attached to a coil. See, from this side I am bringing a north pole. North pole of a magnet is brought from this side. From opposite side, we are going to bring a south pole. Okay, so imagine that, okay, you have a circular loop of wire. If my hand is a circular loop of wire, okay, so this is A and B. Okay, my forefinger, thumb is A, thumb is B, sorry. This point is A. A and B are two plates. Say from one side I am bringing the south pole, from this side I am bringing a north pole. So if you bring a north pole close to the loop, which pole will be induced here? North pole. So towards north, it will be north pole. Give arrow according to N. This is up and down. This is how the current is flowing. Okay, I am continuing the direction. I am showing you only the phase of the coil which is facing the north pole. If you bring a north pole closer, this side north pole will be induced. If you bring the south pole closer, behind this plane we have a south pole. So first I have given N. Give arrows according to N. Continue the arrows. See, is current flowing away from B towards A? So B should have positive polarity, A should have negative polarity. Current always flows from A to B. Because in this question they are not asking you the direction of current. What is the polarity of A and B? Because it's an open loop, no current will be induced. But there will be a positive polarity on B and a negative polarity on A. See, even if you write the directions from opposite side. So if this is the phase of the coil, this side you will have a south pole. A south pole is induced. You get the same direction. Okay, current will again flow from B to A. So B will have a positive polarity and A will have a negative polarity. Sometimes which is positive plate and negative plate can also be asked in the question. So for such type of questions, you can make use of Lenz's law. So these are some of the examples of numericals which are based on identifying the direction of induced current.